Hey guys, behind me I've got some Jeep news because that is the new 2022 Jeep Compass. And in this video we are going to go over all the exterior changes, talk about the big changes on the inside, we'll discuss the powertrains, and whether or not this is worth a look over some of its competition. Now this 2022 Compass is debuting at the 2021 Chicago Auto Show, and it is worth noting that there are some big changes on this model, but it is not an all-new vehicle. It is largely a refresh, and we're going to talk about the big points coming up right now. So let's start out. What is the Compass? The Compass is an SUV built by Jeep that slots in above the little Renegade, but below the Jeep Cherokee. Now the Compass debuted in this generation a few years ago, and for 2022 we do see some changes. Now on the outside, the primary changes are going to be with a new grille. It's been redesigned, new headlights that represent more of a design relation to the Jeep Grand Cherokee L. So we've got this pretty distinctive running light, still has that kind of squinty headlight design, a little bit of differences in the front fascia and wheels, and then in the rear we also see some new tail lights. The tail lights have looks like a slightly bigger profile than the current ones. That's at least how I view them. But overall very similar on the outside to the current generation of Compass. So one of the big changes on the new Jeep Compass is related to the infotainment screen. Now the standard screen for 2022 is an 8.4 inch, which Jeep is saying is the largest in its class for a standard display. But in my mind, the coolest part is the optional 10.1 inch digital touchscreen. Now this uses a version of the Stellantis Uconnect 5 display, and if you're familiar with Uconnect 4, it's one of the best and easiest to use systems in the industry, and Uconnect 5 has just brought that up another level in terms of quality of the image, quality of the icons, and the overall usability. I find it to be a little bit quicker and a little bit more nice to use than the current system, and 10.1 inches means you've got more screen to play with as well. So that's a pretty cool addition to the interior. Now we also see, in addition to the actual gauge cluster, you can now get an optional 10.25 inch full color instrument cluster display. Very cool. So other changes on the interior, heated rear seats are now available for the first time on the Jeep Compass. They've redesigned the rear vents too for the AC system, so they're a little bit more usable. The dash layout, pretty different. I really like what they've done with its interior. I've got a chance to experience a new Jeep Grand Cherokee L, and if this is anything like a miniature version of that, I think it's really going to be pretty good. Type A and Type C USB ports in the front for front passengers, and a wireless charging pad. We also have access to a 115 volt power outlet in the rear and 2 USB ports for the rear seat passengers as well. So you can get this vehicle with a bunch of different interior colors and interior trims, but the big news about the interior is just, I think, the overall feeling and the design that this car is going to give you when you are sitting within. Now we also see a bunch of kind of cool safety technologies in the Compass. So new for 22 is going to be the Highway Assist semi-autonomous driving system. Jeep says this is a late availability option, but it's going to be available on the limited Trailhawk and high altitude models. And this is kind of like the Tesla Autopilot, where you get it on the highway, you're paying attention to the road, but the car is just basically going to steer you along within its own lane. And it's just a much more relaxing way to road trip. I've used it before in the Grand Cherokee L, and it worked great, so I hope it does the same in the Compass. There's also a new traffic sign recognition system. We also have standard across the entire Compass lineup, the pedestrian and cyclist automatic emergency braking system. There is a surround view camera available on latitude and above, so you can kind of see what's around you as you're parking. Available parallel and perpendicular park assist, and then we have adaptive cruise control on latitude limited, kind of the higher end trims, active lane management, blind spot monitoring. So there's a whole bunch of tech that you can spec in this new Grand Cherokee. And speaking of the different trims, there is a new trim available, which is called the Lux specifically, and I don't want to get my wording wrong here. I believe it is the Latitude Lux. Now that is going to offer a bunch of premium amenities and standard safety features and Jeep is saying that that's going to be a pretty darn good value. So if you want your Jeep with, for example, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, 8-way driver, power seat, the 10.1-inch screen, and alarm system, that's all going to be included in the new Latitude Lux model. So let's talk about capability and the four-wheel drive system. So the Compass uses a front-wheel drive based four-wheel drive system, and you can still spec this model in front-wheel drive only if you prefer, but there are two different four-wheel drives which are going to be available, the Jeep Active Drive and the Jeep Active Drive Low. Both of these systems use a PTU, which stands for Power Takeoff Unit, which can disconnect basically the rear axle when it needs to for fuel efficiency, and then engage the all-wheel drive system when it sees fit to get you unstuck. The Active Drive Low has a low functionality. It's not a low range, but it's a button you push that basically locks it in first gear, and Jeep is saying that'll give you a 20-to-1 crawl ratio, and they do say it is trail rated, not Rubicon rated. It's not built to go down the Rubicon Trail, but trail rated means it has to pass certain criteria for example, water fording, maneuverability, ground clearance, that kind of thing. And speaking of ground clearance, there's the Compass Trailhawk model making a return for 2022. That is the off-road trim. It includes a 1-inch factory lift that raises the ground clearance to 8.6 inches, water fording of up to 19 inches. It's got steel skid plates underneath, front and rear tow hooks, which is a big deal, 17-inch aluminum wheels, and all-season performance tires. And they're saying that model will have a 30-degree approach angle, a 24-degree breakover angle, and a 34-degree departure angle. So if we look across the board, we also have some new colors. So if you are into speccing your Jeep to look a little bit different than everybody else's, there will be some new colors for 2022. So that includes this color called Earl, which I believe is a gray. There's going to be velvet red, laser blue, granite crystal metallic, billet silver, stingray, diamond black, and bright white. Jeep is saying up to 8 inches of rear wheel articulation on Trailhawk models for off-road adventures. It is based on the small wide architecture, and it's powered by a similar engine of the current model, the 2.4-liter Tiger Shark engine. Jeep is targeting up to 31 miles per gallon on the two-wheel drive models, a driving range of 400 miles, and a maximum towing capacity of up to 2,000 pounds on the four-wheel drive models. Now, talking horsepower, 177 horsepower, 172 pound-feet of torque, and depending on the front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive trim you get, 6-speed or a 9-speed automatic transmission. So that's all pretty similar. Now, no word on pricing yet, so we're not really sure if we're going to see a price increase on this new Jeep Compass. So it's a new in the sense that the interiors are new, some of the tech is new, some of the safety features are new, but not really new in terms of its underpinnings per se or its overall design philosophy, I think, on the exterior. But we're going to have to get this thing on the trail and see how it performs in the real world. Now, competition, it's always been kind of an interesting thing. Jeep has segmented their crossovers to the T in terms of like small, medium, small, medium, small, and the medium in its overall size. So I kind of consider this to be similar to RAV4, Ford Escape, maybe Honda CR-V. It's an interesting thing because it kind of slots between the really small, like Honda HR-V, and the bigger CR-V. It's kind of splits the middle, but I think people would cross-shop it with those. In the past, I haven't been super in love with the 2.4 Tiger Shark, especially altitude. I think the capability is pretty similar, if not a little bit better, to like a Forester, because you do have real skid plates and underbody protection and recovery points. But we're going to get this thing on the trail and see if it's worthy of that trail rated badge. And we'll also get it on the slip test and see how the all-wheel drive system works with the different terrain modes. Well, let me know what you think of the Compass in the comments section below. As always, this has been Tommy with the Fastlane Car. Check out TFLcar.com for the latest and greatest in new car reviews.